Pittsburgh. I've been in Pittsburgh for 17 years, and I've rehabbed my rental properties, rent them out. That's what I've been doing here, and that's, I guess, what's given rise to some events.
Yeah. So there's some stuff that's happened, which is why you've come on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what's happened?
Sure. So yes, I have a crowdfunder up, and there's a beeping.
That's okay. It's just a car outside my window. Can you hear it? I think the microphone, when I edit, it'll probably be able to cut that out, but I don't know. It is what it is. We've got all sorts of construction going on outside the window as well.
Yeah, so I have a crowdfunder for legal. It's helped me pay to appeal a criminal conviction. It's a low level, what we call a summary offense here in the U.S. A summary offense is the lowest offense, lower than a misdemeanor. And I guess it seems like my city just makes this charge against people all the time. Because I know someone else who gets it. So basically, if you have any kind of a problem with your neighbor, you can expect to end up criminally charged, with harassment. That's what I was charged with.
Okay.
Yeah, back in 2022. But, in this case, it was my next door neighbors started a sign war with me. They put a little flag, actually, that said trans rights are human rights, and they placed it in their landscaping at the back of the property, facing my property, facing my kitchen. And so I felt like I was completely safe to respond with my own sign, because we have First Amendment rights here in the U.S., of course. So I responded. I actually did respond with two different signs. I put it was Mother's Day weekend so it was early May of 2022. I first put a sign in my car window because we park our cars on the street. So I put a sign in my car window that said only women can be mothers, because it was Mother's Day weekend. And I will explain, like, there's a whole history with these people. People are probably like, well, why are you doing this? There's a reason. There was a history with these people where they had previously basically cost me over $20,000. So I responded with two different signs. I put a sign in my car, and then the following day I put a sign directly across from their trans rights flag, and my sign said transing kids is abuse and homophobia. It was just a handmade sign I made. And I guess that, but as expected, they went and got me charged with a crime. They first asked the police to charge me, and the police said no. She has a First Amendment right to do that. But they were able to go to the district attorney and use something called the private criminal complaint process, where they just directly asked the district attorney. Here in Pittsburgh, all the authorities are trans captured and woke. So it was, I think they got some young person in the DA's office who approved this charge. But yeah, I think maybe I should explain, like, what the history was and why I chose to do that.
Yeah, you can do. So it's interesting you say that they cost you $20,000. That sounds like a lot of money.
It's a massive ton of money. Basically, yeah, I had already been financially ruined by these people prior to this sign thing. Because what had happened back 2 years prior, so we're looking at basically the COVID and George Floyd summer of 2020.
Yeah.
These neighbors had just moved into the house next to me at the very end of 2019. And they made me uncomfortable right from the start, they're a family of 6 males, 2 married men who've adopted 4 sons from the foster system. And the sons were mostly teenagers. They were all teenagers except for the youngest. So my new neighbors were, a group of males, and they didn't introduce themselves, which made me a little uncomfortable, because I felt like I should introduce myself. I wasn't raised in a barn. So I left them a note a friendly note one time after, after several weeks of them being here. I just was like, well, I'll introduce myself. And I went over and put a note in their mailbox, like, hi, welcome to the neighborhood. If you need anything, blah, blah, blah. And gave my phone number, and they just ignored it. They didn't send me a text like, oh, hey, got your note. Thanks. Nothing like that. And, uh, and then the spring came, and well, they had some barking dogs. They had like 3 dogs, and the spring came, and there was a time when I could hear the dogs were barking inside their house. And I did talk to the one guy. So finally, I finally made the acquaintance of each of the 2 adult men on separate times. And because the weather was getting nice and we were outside, and, but they did a construction project. They built a patio, and they erected, a hideously ugly fence that's just a solid piece of plastic, because like now everything's plastic, and so people are building these plastic fences, and they made it solid, so it goes right along my screened porch in my back. I mean, I actually, like, I didn't realize how mad I was about that fence, because I just told myself, well, what can you do? So I just tried to, like, shove down my anger. But, I was really angry about that. Like, they didn't ask me about it, and it goes right along my thing. So, okay. So what happened? So I guess what ended up happening was on June 3rd of 2020, I arrived home, and I saw that they had there was a whole bunch of really large cardboard boxes that they dumped on the curb. Like everywhere, we have some rules for our trash and recycling. Like, you're not supposed to just put a cardboard box out there. You're supposed to,
Yep.
You're right. I mean, like, and, I'm a recycling Nazi. I admit it. But it's what I do as a landlord and a rehabber. I'm always dealing with, waste, trash, recycling. It's just what I've been doing for 17 years. And so I saw that a couple of kids, so our houses are sit at the top of this slope. There's a big slope from the sidewalk up to our houses. And I saw that there were a couple of the kids were up at the top of their slope. And I just made the terrible mistake of speaking to them and saying, hey, this isn't the right way to put the boxes out. And I guess because they're kids, they just stared at me blankly. And so I started to repeat myself again. And right as I did this, their one dog yelped, because they had this one dog that was like a hound, and it was always make this horrible yelping sound, like it was being stepped on. And then that just like kind of made me mad too. So I just said, and that dog is effing annoying. And like, that was it. Like, I had given them, and I immediately felt sheer terror, because like I knew that I had given them what they wanted. And it was just like, from that moment, the next 3 weeks, I had terror. We ended up having like some words over the back fence, and the man I can't just, he's such a histrionic, like a cry bully. And he's acting as if I had tried to kill these poor foster kids. I mean, he was just acting like I had done something so terrible. And it was like, it really gaslit me, like, for a long time. It actually took me almost a year until I understood that I had done nothing wrong, and that, he was just determined to paint me as somebody who was a danger to his sons. So like, yeah, it's just, and I knew that the whole police, so I had a lawsuit against the police, which I haven't explained that, but at this time I had a pending lawsuit against 5 local police officers over a wrongful arrest in 2017. So I knew, like, I just knew everything that was going to happen. It was like, I could see it happening. They were going to use the police, because my lawsuit was publicized. It was on television, and I knew that they had Googled my name. I knew that they knew that I had a lawsuit against the police, and therefore they could use the police to get them on their side and say, oh, well, this Darian Balcom, she's a real problem. And that's exactly what they did, because we went back and forth. Like, So I was writing them messages on Facebook saying, like, okay, I was like, I was saying, I am not a threat to you guys. Like I put it in writing that they're pretending like I'm dangerous to them. And actually on June 3rd, he had threatened to, lie to the police. Like, cause I was so mad that he was accusing me of something that I went and I was cutting those cardboard boxes but I mean, I'm not on their property. This is down on the curb, So, I mean, I didn't do anything wrong, but he had approached me. Like, if he thought I was so dangerous, why did he come all the way down and get close to me when I'm cutting cardboard boxes with a knife? And he says, "You're mentally ill. I'm going to call 911 and tell them there's a woman here with a knife." So basically he was threatening to lie to the police and make them believe that I'm a mentally ill woman who's about to stab him with a knife. And I was absolutely terrified. Like when he did that in that moment, I knew that this man just wants to destroy me. So I was writing them messages saying, you need to assure me that you're not going to actually lie to the police about me. He just didn't respond, which is a threat. Like, it's like if you're like begging somebody not to kill you and they don't say, no, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. So I just knew, I don't know, I knew what was going to happen, but I just felt like they were bullying me. So I was going to stand up to them. I'm like, I'm not going to be bullied at my home. And we went back and forth. I don't know. One time I saw his child littering, but like I couldn't speak to them because they would threaten me. So I went on social media and I was like, yeah, the child is littered. But then, of course, then I'm accused of like doxing them and all this stuff. And then I finally like tried to file a police report, but I just did it by phone and it went nowhere. And 5 days after I filed a police report on June 20th, on June 25th, my cat disappeared out of my yard. I don't really have outdoor cats, but the weather was nice. I was letting a couple cats outside in the morning, and one of them just completely disappeared mysteriously on June 25th. And so like that's when like the police showed up, or I mean, I called police. I don't know if they had already called police. I think they probably had, because I think they were setting this whole thing up to use the police against me. And then sure enough, so this police officer acted like I was the problem. She told me to leave them alone. And I was like, can you just tell them not to lie to the police about me? And she was like, no, I won't do that. So, I was totally beside myself, and I could see what the police were doing. And I had to defy the police because they were, so I went on social media and I was accusing the men of having my cat, because basically, obviously I'd asked the police to ask the men if they have my cat, and of course they said no. So I went on social media and I posted, and the police used that to charge me. So the police charged me with harassment back in 2020 over the social media post. And then when this female, it was a female officer, when she came to my house to give me this citation, she had my defendant officer, the one from my lawsuit that I was suing, she had him with her, like coming onto my property. He came all the way up to my porch. So that was obviously just to intimidate me and just to show me that they were retaliating against me basically for the lawsuit. And I'm mad at myself that I wasn't filming. I should have been filming to show that police officer came onto my property. So I had a vacant during this time. One of my tenants moved out of my one rental, and it's really stressful to get new tenants. It's hard to get into that. But as a landlord, I hate being a landlord. I hate trying to find new tenants. It's stressful having to clean up the house. This tenant who left gave me a lot of problems. So I was pretty much just destroyed. I was psychologically destroyed by the whole thing. And here I was charged with a crime again. I had to hire a lawyer, and they're very expensive. So the lawyer was like $3,500 to defend me against this stupid charge. Because of COVID, it got dragged out. It was ultimately dropped, but not for almost a year.
So what was that for?
Well, harassment. I was charged with harassing both of the men, both of the adult men, because I accused them of having my cat. And I should say, they had called animal control. I mean, like a week before my cat disappeared, they had called animal control to complain about my cat walking through their yard. So for me to suspect that they disappeared my cat wasn't, out of the question.
How
And
did you know it was them? Did they admit that?
No. I mean, I'll never know. So what happened was after 4 days, I found her. I heard her meowing from inside of a garage of a property on the other side of me, because the men were on this side. On the other side of me, there's a property that has a garage. And I heard her meowing and asked those people to open up their garage. They didn't speak to me, those people. I don't know, but like those people hate me because one time I asked them not to blow their horn. Like their teenagers were blowing their horn outside my house for no reason. So I think, everybody just thinks I'm a horrible person because I asked them to be considerate. So, yeah, they never spoke to me, but I got the cat back. It was suspicious because she wasn't thirsty. I mean, after 4 days, she would have been getting dehydrated. But when I got her inside, she just went for the food. She had water. Who knows? So I was
That's good that you got your cat back.
I mean,
Happy ending.
yeah, thank God. I mean, that would have just killed me. She's my favorite cat.
How many cats do you have? Because there's one sitting asleep behind you.
So I have 2 here and there's 5 at my house. Yeah, I was down to 5, but then there was a couple more. So, I mean, I was just destroyed. I couldn't function. So I ended up moving. I thought, well, I want to just get away. So since my rental was empty, I went and lived over there. So when I say I lost like over $20,000, it's because I was too debilitated to even get a new tenant over there. So it just sat. I didn't get rent for that house for a year. I wanted to get away from the police. Like it's in a different police zone, so I could just get away from the neighbors and from the police. But I don't know. I mean, yeah. So
Well, it
yeah.
sounds quite really stressful. You've got all these different things going on, and then you have to move out of your house because you're not getting on with the neighbours. And it was so uncomfortable to live there.
Yeah, I was just, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things like, I mean, also, I renovate these places for strangers to live in, but I live, I live in the trashy place that's not fixed up, and like, yeah. So, and it's basically become unlivable. Which is why I'm here now, because my home over there, I don't know if it's mold or what. The walls haven't been painted for probably 50 or 60 years. And I decided that it's why I started to cough all the time when I was home. So everything's it's really bad. I don't know.
So tell us about your crowdfunder and why you're raising money.
So after the sign war, I was charged, and I basically just have had, activist judges, and sometimes I had a lawyer, sometimes I didn't. I mean, the first trial, I had a lawyer. She was very expensive, but it was just a waste of money because the judge was gonna say I'm guilty. So she declared me guilty, with a $200 fine. So I appealed it to the next court, where you have a new trial. They pretend like nothing happened. You just start over. You have another trial. In that trial, I was what's called pro se. That means unrepresented. I decided, well, whatever. I mean, I have no money. Like, I have no money. And I figured the judge would be activist again anyway. And I was correct about that. Real activist judge. So she upheld the guilty verdict. So then to appeal it again, at that point, I had to have an attorney because you're going up to an appellate court. You have to have an attorney because they need to write a brief. So I shelled out I got screwed over. I paid $5,000 to a lawyer who maybe had a drug problem or something like that. He basically just took the money and didn't do what he was supposed to do. I had to replace him with another lawyer. I paid $7,500. I mean, again, this is all going on credit cards. I don't actually have this money. I've had good credit and I had available credit. So that lawyer was able to salvage my case at least. But what he did was made arguments that allowed the appellate court to remand it. Remand means send it back down for another trial. I wish that my lawyer had discussed it with me more, because I think I would have rather that he make arguments that force the appellate court to decide on the merits, because and just decide the case based on the merits, because they remanded it on the basis of a due process violation. They said, well, she just didn't get a fair trial, so we're going to send it back. It's like, so I just had that new trial last week, and I was by myself. I had to try to represent myself, and I wasn't okay. I mean, it was just too much stress. The judge was a jerk. I had written a motion in advance. I had submitted a 24-page pretrial motion to dismiss, and the judge just acted like he acted like that didn't exist. And I was just confused, because his clerk had told me that we were going to have a hearing on the motion before we just had a trial, but that's not what happened. The judge just went straight into a trial. So I guess, and the law is that, so he ended up ruling against me and just upholding the guilty and the $200. But, the crime that I'm charged with is defined as a course of conduct or repeated acts with no legitimate purpose, only to annoy or alarm or harass someone. And also, of course, it has to be something that is not constitutionally protected activity. I mean, if you're exercising your First Amendment rights, then you are not, by definition, you're not harassing anyone, you're not committing any crime, because you have a right to do it. So they were trying to come up with like a course of conduct that I engaged in, and the whole thing was it's just nuts, and the whole thing too is that the only alleged victim that I'm accused of harassing is the one man. And so, the verdict just doesn't make sense, because they're like, they talk about the fact that I put the sign in my car and I parked my car on the street and I parked it in front of their car. And what actually happened at that time was like, the husband came down and got in their car. Like, it's my luck completely that at the very moment that I was parking my car on the street with the sign in it in the back window, the husband came out of their house and got into their car and left. And so like that happened, but
you didn't know that was going to happen.
I had no idea. Like, I mean, I'm just like, it's so my luck, but like, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's a public street, I live there. I can park the car there. I can put signs wherever I want. I can put as many signs in my car as I want. And, and then furthermore, they're trying to claim that was harassing the one man, but he wasn't the man that came down and got in the car and left. But both, when they talk about that, they always tell a lie, which is so stupid. They always lie about it. They to say that I was sitting and waiting in my car. It's like, well, how do you know? Like, I mean, I wasn't, but like, you would have, what were you doing that you could see that I was waiting? This doesn't even make any sense. And they always lie and say that something about how he came back with the kids, because he was going to pick up the kids from work, and he wants it to be like he wants the kids to be there. So he wants to, because they're always trying to say that I like want to kill their kids. I mean, this is like the whole thing about this whole thing. Because they're transing the one kid. And so they've been trying to turn me into this murderer, somebody who wants to like murder their child. And so when they talk about the car thing, they always they always reverse it and say that I was there when he returned home with the kids in the car, because they want it to be like the kids were in the car and she was in her car with the sign in the window. And it's just so dumb, because like, that, like, it just doesn't matter. I'm not even accused of harassing them, but even if I was, it doesn't matter. It's a false charge. And then, so my crowdfunder is to try to raise the money to appeal it again up to this appellate court. This time I would have a lawyer where we're on the same page, and I'm like, look, you're just going to make the arguments to force these judges. So it's a panel. It's like a 3-judge panel, and they review the whole record, and they read the lawyer's briefs, and then they decide. I just want them to be forced to decide on the substance that, because it's in the record that they put up a flag on their yard first. They started a sign war, and then they had the nerve to go ask the district attorney to charge me with a crime for he knew, like, I did exactly what he wanted. He wanted me to do that so that he could get me charged with a crime.
Yeah. So they put up the sign first, and then you put up a different sign.
Yep. And I have proof. I have a Facebook post, which they actually always submit. Like, they think it helps them because they got a hold of my Facebook post right after they put their flag up. I made a Facebook post. I said, oh, look, my neighbors have just put this trans rights flag facing me. Like, they ended up getting a hold of that through another neighbor that I was friends with. And so they always are trying to show that to the judge. It's like, why would you think that supports your...
But it sounds like it did, because you lost your case. So, yeah.
Like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
It sounds really messy and really uncomfortable to be falling out with your neighbours.
Well, they did move, though.
Yeah.
Which I kind of suspected that they would. As I thought about it afterwards, I was like, I bet you they're going to move, because they have to adhere to their script. I mean, their script is that Darian is dangerous. She wants to, like, kill our child. I mean, she's either going to physically, come after him with a knife after she cuts the cardboard, or the thoughts in her head and the stickers on her car that are going to cause our child to die. And so they have to keep pretending that they really believe that. Yeah, so they sold their house and they moved in 2023. They've been gone.
So what's the consequence of not going to court? Because, like, you've been quite a few times. What's going to happen if you just drop it and get on with your life?
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's no consequence. I mean, I just have to pay for, $200 plus court costs, which is $400. Yeah. Yeah. And then, yeah.
So that's to go to court again?
No, just be done. I mean,
to be done, right? Okay.
Yeah, I have. If I don't file an appeal by March, well, it's actually by March 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just have to pay, and it's done. And I have it's on my record, but it's because it's a summary of events. It doesn't affect employment or anything.
Yeah,
it doesn't show up.
And then, so, can you tell us a bit more about why you're really determined to fight it? Because it sounds like it's like you've been through so much, and like, wouldn't it just be nice to just...
I mean, I don't have any, they came and attacked me when I was already down. I mean, I didn't have any, like, I don't know, like I was already kind of at the end of the road in terms of my real estate activities here. I was just sitting here with nothing, and they came after me. So they gave me a purpose. I didn't have any purpose. Like the real estate values have gone up now. Like you can't get these cheap houses anymore. So I can't really, I was at the end. I'm at the end of my road. It's been this way for years. And, I'm trying to find jobs. I've tried a bunch of different jobs. I'm I'm looking again. I think I've gotten a job that I'm going to start soon. So yeah, I mean, they attacked me at my home and I defended myself. I mean, it's very, very simple. You know, my answer to having a group of 6 men and boys next door to me who think they're going to pretend like I'm a threat to them and that I want to kill their children is no. My answer is no.
Yeah.
So I did get rid of them.
It sounds very much like the like trans rights activists who, like, they are histrionic and they do, like, none of their arguments make sense. Like, you say that you don't agree with them and that means that you want to kill them. That sounds like what it is that you've been dealing with.
Yeah, I understand it as a narrative and a script that is based on a narrative. It's very, very simple. Like,
yeah,
it's very simple, and it's premised on a lie. The lie that there are these special people, that some people are special, and everybody wants to kill them. Like, it's that simple. And they act it out, and they tell whatever lie is necessary to act it out and make it appear to be true. They will tell any lie about anybody. Oh, I didn't even get into the I didn't even get into the libel and defamation. I mean, as soon as they got that charge against me, they went to the newspaper and television. But in the newspaper, they told vicious lies, which paint me as a racist. So they said that I said Black people have too many kids. And they said that 2 weeks after the murder of George Floyd, I threatened to call cops on their kids over recycling. So they go back to that June 3rd, 2020, and they are telling the newspaper that on that day, which was 2 weeks after the murder of George Floyd, I threatened to call the police on their Black teenagers over recycling. Because see, 2 of their sons are Black and 2 are white.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that it was a crime to, well, it isn't a crime, is it, to leave out recycling in the street in the wrong place?
No, I mean,
unless it's littering, but.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, we have law. It is the law to set your trash out and recycling in the way that they tell you to do it. I mean, those are laws.
Okay.
But I was never going to I never threatened to call police.
No.
I wouldn't call, I mean, what I did was I spoke to them. I said, that's not the right way to do it. And then when they were accusing me of things I didn't do, then I was like, screw you. And I went down and I cut the boxes up myself. I mean.
So you were going to do it properly. You were doing the right thing.
Well, it's like, because, so it's for the guys who pick it up. Like,
yeah.
I mean, those rules are in large part for the safety of the guys who have to pick all this stuff up every week.
Yeah.
It's out of consideration for them. So, yeah, I mean.
Wow. So, Darian, if people want to donate to your crowdfunder or they want to find you, where would you like them to go?
I mean, I have it on Give, Send, Go, and I don't know. It's called Sign War. I don't know how to find it.
I will if you send me the link to it, I'll put it in the show notes when I release the episode.
Okay.
Is that okay? Is there anywhere else that you want people to find you, or do you not want that?
I mean, they can find me on Facebook. I'm under my name. Yeah.
Okay. If you send me, I've got your link to that, so I'll put that in the video notes as well, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on my podcast and sharing your story. It sounds really stressful.
Yes, it's been awful. But
I wish you the best of luck with it. I hope you manage to resolve it.
Thank you, Kelly.